So I was thinking about the biological determinism argument that I brought up yesterday, and I was thinking about how it has some similarities, I guess, or I was thinking about the different types of biological determinism, and so yeah, I was thinking about obviously the main two that I've been discussing so far have been like radical feminist kind of arguments of men being biologically determined to be oppressors, and then like Nation of Islam kind of arguments about white people being a genetic mistake or whatever the doctrine is. And I thought it's kind of an interesting phenomenon because I've said in the past that like anti-Semitism has, of all the kinds of racism, anti-Semitism has always appealed to me the most. Not because, like, I'm so divorced from anything Jewish or like it's like Eskimos or whatever. I've got no real reason to have any kind of passionate feelings. So it's not about Jewish people themselves, but with every other form of racism that, you know, a white person can do. The ideology of the racism is that white people are superior and, you know, whatever race it is inferior, dirty, like can't do anything kind of people. And that's always struck me as a weird way to like position yourself, because it's like, yeah, if you're the master race and these people are essentially animals, how is it that they're outwitting you? So yeah, to me, like anti-Semitism at least has a kind of, you've got a real enemy, something you can sink your teeth into. They're like sneaky and mischievous, and yeah, they've at least got, you know, intelligence on their side, if nothing else. And so that seems like some, you know, a battle worth having. So I guess in some senses, it's like that's what sort of Nation of Islam and male dominance kind of provides is, how am I going to explain this? Yeah, there's a similar dynamic of people fighting against something that they perceive as being sort of more powerful than them. The argument against it, like, because you could say, well, you know, men are really more powerful or white people are really more powerful, and you know, whether or not that's true doesn't really determine whether or not the argument that they're making for why it's true is true, if you know what I'm saying. So yeah, white people could be on top, but maybe it's not because they were made in a lab somewhere, you know? And it's so in that sense, like it's in a weird way, even though like people who are real hardcore, like black separatists or female separatists or whatever, be like, we're totally different from the other people. Like these types of beliefs, I think, show how it's a human response to certain kind of situation, to a certain situation. And the interesting thing about anti-Semitism is that, in my opinion, it's kind of making like pretty much the same mistake that, you know, black supremacy or female supremacy is also making, which is that like these ideas don't come out of nowhere. Like there were real economic struggles and problems in Germany when Nazism kind of took hold. So I guess the point that I'm trying to get to is that I see them making a similar, like, it's a similar mistake, to be like, oh, it's not the social forces of capitalism that have created this economic system that we have, that have sort of been the compounded things result of the history of feudalism and slavery and all the things that came before it. Instead, what a anti-Semite will argue is that essentially, like throughout history, the Jews have consciously taken like what would have otherwise been an egalitarian society, and with their evil machinations turned it into something perverse. And yeah, that's like very similar to like the arguments that you'll hear from like black separatists and female separatists in terms of like, you know, black capitalism being better than white capitalism, or yeah, you know, the system would be better if there were more women in charge, and those kinds of things. Yeah, I don't think it actually solves the problem because it misidentifies the causes. And I don't know what to make a video response to. If anyone has any suggestions, just find the craziest gender theist thing, anything that's pissed you off. Like if you're a regular follower or whatever, just yeah, whatever it is, I'll do a video on it just because I need content. So yeah, send it through. What else? Oh, the pandemic, obviously. I think that the like heard from like a number of different people, like yeah, different people are on different sides of the thing. Okay, the pandemic. Yes, it's real. Yes, it's a problem. No, it's not. Like people are like, oh, it's only barely more deadly than the flu or something like that. And it's like, yeah, but it's way more contagious, and people survive the flu, particularly when they have extenuating circumstances, because they have access to medical supplies and care. And in a situation where everybody is sick at once, it means people go without and then die as a result of that. So, like, yeah, just look at Italy. Like, there are problems. I don't really know how to obviously solve them. It's such a fucking weird world. Like, up until this happened, I feel like, say 5 years ago, or 2 years ago, we'll say, when I first got into politics, it's kind of like things made sense. I was sort of developing my understanding of the world and where people kind of fit and ideas fit into different boxes and that kind of thing. And I feel like at some point, I guess in the mid to 2010s, things just got fucking crazy. And like things stopped. The image I have in my head is you know that thing in Mario, like Super Mario Brothers, where it was the kind of slot machine thing, and it would be the different characters would would slide along, and you'd have to try and stop it and make like a mushroom or a flower. It like to me, 2010 felt like all the characters were before 2010, all their characters were made properly. And then at 2010, someone just like knocked one of the rungs and sent it spinning, and now like the flower has the mushroom feet, and it all looks silly. And so yeah, you have these weird like someone's half liberal, half socialist, like everything's kind of mixed up. And up until recently, it was kind of like, oh, we can put this back together, like that just still needs to go over there. And then the fucking pandemic happened. And yeah, it was like they all just dissolved into dust. And I'm still there trying to be like, no, like, well, why? Yeah, so I just wanted to share that with you. I don't know, like this is, other people are like, oh, this isn't a big thing, we're gonna get over this. And it's like, no, dickhead. We are definitely not going to get over this. Like we may recover from this specific pandemic at some point, but weren't you paying attention? We're all going to sink underwater. Like global warming is going to like fucking kill everything. So the people who are like, oh no, we'll just like clean this up and get back to normal. There was no normal. We were like holding on, pretending like the whole spaceship wasn't going to explode up until about 5 minutes ago. And we're still on that course. And yeah, nothing's really going to change that. And yeah, all the old solutions don't seem to make sense in this type of a world. So I'm not even have no idea of like what to even suggest. I got sent a podcast, I guess I'll link it below, about modern monetary theory, and I think that's like an interesting idea, but I'm also kind of terrified or skeptical, they're the same word, of progressives, because I read this book recently that was kind of talking about just like the political period that the Nazis were in, and it was talking about what America was doing at the same time the Nazis were doing what they were doing. And it was saying how kind of like similar FDR was to Hitler in a lot of ways, and the kind of just outright like, you know, eugenics kind of arguments that FDR would make, and how even though people look back on that period in America as like the big left kind of period, there was a whole bunch of creepy things that were tied up in that whole process. And so seeing a new one happen now, I'm not kind of as like, oh, this is going to be another great like a Green New Deal like the old New Deal, because I think the old New Deal was maybe we remember it differently because we don't even remember it. It's just kind of occasionally brought up as a reference point in American politics. Yeah. So that's another thing I've been thinking about. Stuff I've been thinking about. That's what you're getting now. Oh, I've been talking about like redoing Money and the Cost of Gender since I did it. If I were to do it, like, I was thinking I could actually expand the patriarchy chapter and like make that a little bit more updated, but then it's not really necessary for that whole thing. That was kind of a quick like primer on, you know, where we came from. But yeah, sort of thinking about redoing that. I also thought that a bit where I'm like talking about people being thrown in jail, and there was like one example, whereas there's been heaps more examples of how fucked up Orwellian things have gotten around the gender stuff, that I thought I could throw in there. Yeah, oh, the ending that I fucked up. So the ending used to be awesome. Instead of like the weird music or whatever that's there now and the baby crying, whatever the fuck idea that was, it was Lana Del Rey, Money, fuck, what is it? Oh yeah, Money, Power, Glory. And the lyrics fit perfectly with like the subject matter, and yeah, it worked fucking brilliantly. But it got flagged for copyright, and it wouldn't even let me upload it without you know, monetization. So I always thought I want to change that back at some point, and then maybe upload it to BitChute or something like that. In the last, on a comment on one of the last videos, said something I didn't really get what the person was trying to say, but it was something to the effect of the reason why biological determinist argument in relation to men makes sense is because men in general kind of believe those arguments, whereas white people don't. And I don't know if that's true. I think like a lot of white people, like normal white people, they probably don't think of themselves as superior, like biologically superior. But I think they instead think of other people as biologically inferior. And yeah, that kind of racism, like, yeah, is widespread. And like, as an example, I've had a shitload of like middling little jobs doing various things in various places that and I would say, I don't know, a good 80-90% of those jobs at some point along the line, you encounter a coworker who will just you know, there'll be a quiet moment and they'll let you in on their like murderous beliefs about Aboriginal people. And you know, it's like similar to the same thing like guys will do with misogyny, but it's yeah, it's definitely there. It's definitely like the idea that white people, there's not a similar you know, consciousness there with white people as there is with men. I just don't I think it's comparable.
I don't like when minorities tell me that I can't understand racism because I'm white. They go, no, you can't understand racism because you're not white. I hear the shit they say about you when you leave the room. They don't hold back on my account.
Yeah, so I don't know, send me things if you got something you want me to have a look at. Oh, I saw Jangles has gotten his like a podcast together. So I was thinking it might be fun to go on there again, but this time a little bit more sober and prepared. Other people kind of excited about that kind of thing. I am too, but I'm finding it difficult to find leads. So yeah, if you've got anything, let me know. Yeah, I don't know. I guess.
If you want to talk about the deep discomfort of the arts, dive in. So,